Since its inception on March 31st, 1985, WrestleMania has been the most important date on WWE's calendar. The mixture of wrestling's top stars, appetizing dream matches, brushes with celebrity, and the overall majestic flair have made WrestleMania the preeminent annual event in all of the wrestling industry. Stars have been made, legends enhanced, and moments have been etched in our minds for the past 34 years. And all will continue to be before the dust settles in East Rutherford on April 7th. The allure of the event lends itself well to curiosity, the history of WrestleMania always capable of astounding the interested mind. Even those who have seen every WrestleMania forward and backward 1,000 times over, courageously subjecting themselves to WrestleMania 32 more than once, can still pick up a few tidbits of history that are a bit less commonly known. As we prepare to feast on the 35th out of what figures to be an eternal series of grand spectacles, let us learn a little bit more about the WrestleManias that preceded it. I'm Sam from Cultaholic.com, and here are 10 things you didn't know about WrestleMania. Join us. Number 10. Naming wrongs. The persisting legend is that cherished ring announcer Howard Finkel was the man who came up with the term WrestleMania. And given its timelessness, perhaps the Fink's birthday of June 7th should be set aside as an international holiday. Coming up with event names is far from easy, and coining a name that carries the simple majesty of WrestleMania deserves all the credit you can muster. Because after all, the name could have been much, much worse. During the event's initial planning stages in the late summer of 1984, Vince McMahon and a group of officials settled on the very peculiar name of, wait for it, the Colossal Tussle. Yes, really. Former wrestler turned McMahon confidant George Scott claims that he convinced his boss to reconsider, and eventually Finkel's WrestleMania won out. WWE did run events with rhyming names as MTV specials, including the Brawl to End It All and the War to Settle the Score. Though those are admittedly much more catchy than the Colossal Tussle. Ain't nobody pointing at a goddamn Colossal Tussle sign. Number 9. Do or Die. These days, WrestleMania is big enough to sell out NFL stadiums with premium price tickets and travel packages, while also drawing fans to NXT TakeOver, the Hall of Fame ceremony, and the post-Mania episodes of Raw and SmackDown, making for a 5-day wrestling fiesta that draws more than 100,000 people in total, a colossal hustle and bustle, if you will. The weekend is such a big money winner, and you're not exactly fighting the odds if you wager on WrestleMania being profitable. But that wasn't always the case. When WrestleMania came into existence in the mid-80s, McMahon was assuming a major financial risk by putting the closed-circuit broadcast together. So many eggs were in this basket that the nationally expanding WWE stood to lose so much if the show were to fail. And most agreed that the company would have died had the show not met its high expectations. Some have said that McMahon even put his house up to help finance the endeavor, while various wrestlers present even said that McMahon openly admitted the show was make or break. But spoiler alert, the show was obviously a massive success. Number 8. No Mania for you. WrestleMania 4 is admittedly on the weaker end of the Mania spectrum, what with its bloated 16-match card. That sounds familiar. And aside from Macho Man Randy Savage capturing the WWE Championship in the finale, there wasn't much else in the way of priceless moments. However, WrestleMania was a hot ticket, and the fourth incarnation did 485,000 buys, which was up 21% from the previous year as people jonesed to see both the tournament as well as the Hulk-Andre rubber match. What's less known is that WrestleMania was ruthlessly used by McMahon as part of a hard bargain. When Jim Crockett Promotions entered the pay-per-view game with Starrcade in 1987, McMahon counter-programmed by scheduling the brand new Survivor Series for the same night. As cable providers were left to choose which show to carry, McMahon warned those companies that if they didn't carry Survivor Series exclusively, they would not be allowed to air WrestleMania 4. The threat worked, and only a handful of cable providers in the Carolinas and one in California aired Starrcade, while every other American pay-per-view provider went with Survivor Series, assuring themselves WrestleMania 4 in the process. Number 7. Somewhere in the middle. WrestleMania 35 looks to be poised to put out a card with more matches than your average 1989 TV taping, albeit with less Gorilla Monsoon giving cues and less Iron Mike Sharp grunting his way into our hearts. And WrestleManias through history have really run the gamut when it comes to match quantity. We've mentioned how WrestleMania 4 set a Mania record with 16 matches, while its 3 successors each boasted 14 matches matches of their own. Other shows have had as low as 7 matches, 11, 13, 30, and 31, while the Iron Man match Heavy 12 had a mere 6. Across the first 34 WrestleManias, not counting kickoff and dark matches, there have been exactly 330 total matches at the event, which checks out to an average of 9.7 matches per pay-per-view card. 8 of the 34 WrestleManias have had exactly 9 matches, the original 8, 9, 10, 16, 19, 24, and 32, but only 3 have had exactly 10, 15, 26, and 33. And Undertaker's record 26 WrestleMania matches account for about 8% of the total WrestleMania haul. Number 6. Fool's Gold. There have been great WrestleManias like 17, 3, and 30, as well as truly wretched ones like 32, 15, and 9. Point being, WrestleMania can wildly differ when it comes to quality, and it's a crapshoot from year to year what kind of card you're going to get. There is one constant among the Manias though. You're almost always guaranteed a title change or 2 at the event. In fact, at 33 of the 34 WrestleManias, at least one belt has changed hands, be it World, Women's, Tag, or Other. So which one is the exception? Well, that honor would go to one of the more heavily criticized WrestleManias, number 27 from Atlanta, back in 2011. Only 2 title matches made it to the main card, with WWE Champion The Miz and World Heavyweight Champion Edge retaining over John Cena and Alberto Del Rio respectively. And the US title match between Sheamus and Daniel Bryan was moved to the pre-show and unfortunately wound up a lumberjack-laden schmoz. Number 5. Losing the game. In modern times, WWE has their wrestlers and announcers bray endlessly about WrestleMania moments, more so than wins and losses. Sport in general is also starting to reflect this sort of mentality, as making the viral video-worthy play takes precedent over whether or not your team wins or loses the damn game, but whatever. To many fans, the end result of the match still carries plenty of weight, because otherwise why even have the matches? But when it comes to the losing end of the spectrum, just who has lost the most matches in WrestleMania history? If you can believe it, it's the one-man burial crew per his vocal detractors, Triple H. In all, NXT's founding father has 13 WrestleMania losses to go against 9 victories. 4 of those losses came in the final match of the evening, falling short in world title matches against Chris Benoit, Batista, John Cena, and Roman Reigns. He even broke the record of his clique brother Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania, whose retirement loss to Undertaker netted his 11th defeat at the event. Number 4. All I do is win. If it's any consolation for the game, those 9 wins are the 3rd most in WrestleMania history, putting him just ahead of veteran stars like Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, and Kane, who each hold 8 victories at the event. And if and when Triple H defeats Batista in their apparent Spice Girls karaoke contest at WrestleMania 35, he'll become just the 3rd person in history to reach double-digit WrestleMania wins. As for the 2 ahead of Helmsley on the list, one should go without saying, that's The Undertaker, whose 24 wins at Mania will never be topped, at least not until Hunter starts winning matches in the distant future as one of those heads in a jar like on Futurama. The only other individual to have reached 10 victories has 10 exactly, and that man is John Cena. Since debuting at the event in 2004, Cena has amassed a record of 10 wins and 4 losses, having reached the 10th when he and now ex-fiancée Nikki Bella toppled The Miz and Maurice at WrestleMania 33. Number 3. Making headlines. Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair will each forever be able to claim that they were the first women to ever headline a WrestleMania when the smoke clears in East Rutherford on April 7th. Before them, 35 different males have each been able to say that they've worked the main event of a WrestleMania, a number of them more than once. In fact, 9 men in all have gone on last at WrestleMania on 3 or more occasions. So who exactly has main evented WrestleMania the most times? Well, that would be none other than the immortal Hulk Hogan, who worked the final match in 8 of the first 9 Manias, going 7-1 in that stretch. Triple H sits just behind Hogan with 7 headline appearances, in which he went 3-4. The others that have each made 3 or more Mania finale appearances include The Rock, Shawn Michaels, and John Cena with 5 main events each, The Undertaker and Roman Reigns with 4 apiece, and Steve Austin and Brock Lesnar with 3 apiece. Number 2. Dreams come true. When Shawn Michaels won the 1996 Royal Rumble and earned a title match against Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12, the story focused on Michaels' boyhood dream, his youthful goal of one day winning the WWE Championship. To win your first world title at a WrestleMania has been daydream fodder for a couple of generations now. And when some wrestler realizes the dream in the fashion that HBK did, it makes for a very special moment. On 22 different occasions, the WWE Championship has changed hands across the 34 WrestleManias WrestleManias, including twice at WrestleMania 9. However, only 7 of those winners were capturing that belt for the very first time. Joining Michaels in realizing the first WWE title dream on the big stage include Randy Savage at 4, Ultimate Warrior at 6, Yokozuna at 9, Steve Austin at 14, John Cena at 21, and Seth Rollins at 31. But the big question going into this year is whether Kofi Kingston will become the 8th man to join that short list. And number 1, big money matches. WrestleMania may not have been the first event that McMahon brought to pay-per-view, that would be 1985's Wrestling Classic, but since WrestleMania 2's foray into that medium, Mania itself has affirmed its Super Bowl status by accounting for the extreme majority of WWE's pay-per-view success. Only 6 wrestling pay-per-views ever have done north of 1 million pay-per-view buys, and go figure, they're all WrestleManias. The first to ever break the 1 million barrier was WrestleMania 17 in 2001, reaching 1,040,000 buys for Steve Austin's stunning heel turn. That record stood for just 6 years before being broken by WrestleMania 23, billboarded by Donald Trump versus Vince McMahon's Battle of the Billionaires, to the tune of 1,188,000 buys. And it was a third April Fool's Day WrestleMania that set the current high mark. WrestleMania 28 featuring The Rock vs John Cena, once in a lifetime. That show did 1,253,000 buys, which, thanks to the WWE Network eliminating the pay-per-view middleman, will probably never be broken by any other wrestling event.
Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you like what we do here at Cultaholic, you can check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/Cultaholic. And no matter what you do, don't ever forget to hit subscribe and join us.